What happens when the cartoons meant to entertain kids end up giving parents sleepless nights? For decades, superhero shows have thrilled fans, but some of them also pushed buttons they didn't expect. From shocking storylines to darker visuals that snuck onto Saturday mornings, these shows didn't just raise eyebrows, they raised full-blown debates. So buckle up, because we're diving into 15 superhero cartoons that made parents wonder, was that really meant for kids? Number 15. The Max, 1995. It was too weird for comfort, too dark for daylight, and too deep for Saturday morning TV. The Max, an MTV oddity from the mid-90s, wasn't your average hero show. It followed a homeless man who believed he was a superhero protecting a woman from a surreal alternate world called The Outback. Sounds trippy? That's because it was. The show blended gritty city life with dreamlike landscapes, trauma, and psychology. Parents expecting slapstick action were blindsided. The tone was heavy, the visuals unnerving, and the storyline felt more like a psychological drama than a comic adventure. Critics praised its artistic bravery, but family groups worried it might confuse or frighten younger viewers who tuned in expecting capes and catchphrases. MTV didn't help matters by airing it late at night, marketing it like an art film experiment rather than a cartoon. It became a cult classic for college audiences, but a lightning rod for complaints from confused parents. Even today, The Max stands as proof that not every superhero wears a smile or comes with a simple moral at the end. It was haunting, poetic, and for many, far too real. Number 14. Metalocalypse, 2006. What happens when you mix rock music, exaggerated chaos, and animated mayhem? You get Metalocalypse, a show that parents definitely didn't sign up for. Premiering on Adult Swim, it followed the fictional band Death Clock, a group so wildly successful that fans worshipped them like global icons. But with fame came chaos, explosions, and a brand of humor that was as over-the-top as it was controversial. Parents complained about everything from the exaggerated action scenes to the dark comedy that made no apologies. The series poked fun at celebrity culture, fan obsession, and how fame can twist people into caricatures of themselves. But some felt the line between satire and bad influence was too blurry. Despite the backlash, Metalocalypse earned critical praise for its sharp writing, stunning animation, and biting social commentary. It wasn't meant for kids, but that didn't stop some from stumbling onto it. And when they did well, the parental complaints piled up fast. Still, the show's legacy lives on as one of the most daring superhero-adjacent animations ever made, proving that even cartoons can have a wicked sense of humor. Number 13. Justice League Unlimited, 2004. By the time Justice League Unlimited hit screens, superhero cartoons had grown up, and that was exactly the problem for some parents. This series didn't shy away from tackling mature themes like power abuse, politics, and emotional fallout. One storyline featured heroes questioning their own moral compass, while another showed the consequences of world domination, even if it came from good intentions. Parents who grew up on light-hearted cartoons like Super Friends weren't ready for this tone shift. Gone were the villain of the week routines. In their place were complex plots and character struggles that felt uncomfortably real. Some parents claimed it was too grim, too intense, and too philosophical for younger viewers, but fans loved it. The show respected its audience's intelligence, mixing thrilling battles with real emotional depth. Instead of simple good versus evil, Justice League Unlimited asked what it really meant to be a hero in a flawed world. Critics called it a masterpiece. Parents called it too much for their kids. Either way, it redefined what superhero cartoons could be and proved that animated heroes could wrestle with real-world questions. Number 12. Gargoyles, 1994. Dark castles, thunderstorms, stone creatures that came alive at night. Gargoyles was unlike anything else Disney had ever made. It told the story of ancient protectors turned to stone by day and revived by night to guard modern-day New York. With Gothic visuals, Shakespearean dialogue, and surprisingly layered characters, it felt more like an animated epic than a children's show. Parents, however, weren't so sure. The show's dark tone and mythic battles drew complaints that it was too frightening or too serious for its target audience. Some even thought its dramatic themes, revenge, destiny, betrayal, were far beyond what kids could handle. Disney received letters from viewers who thought it belonged on a late-night slot, not in after-school programming. But for the kids who did watch, Gargoyles became a cult obsession. Its mix of mystery and emotion made it one of the smartest animated shows of the 90s. Today, it's praised for breaking boundaries back then. It simply broke expectations. The outcry only made it more legendary, turning Gargoyles into the perfect example of how too dark for kids sometimes just means too good for its time. Number 11. Static Shock. 2000. Few superhero cartoons were as groundbreaking or as misunderstood as Static Shock. It followed Virgil Hawkins, a teen who gains electromagnetic powers after a city accident. But instead of just fighting costumed villains, he tackled issues that most shows ignored: bullying, family loss, and community struggles. Parents were divided. Many praised its courage and positive role model, while others were uncomfortable with how real it got. Some episodes addressed serious topics like street violence and peer pressure handled responsibly, but still enough to spark debates about whether such stories belonged in a kids' show. A few networks even hesitated to air certain episodes, claiming the themes might be too heavy. Yet Static Shock inspired countless viewers by showing that heroes come from everyday places. It wasn't just another caped crusader, it was a reflection of real life, with humor, heart, and honesty. Parents might have argued, but teachers, critics, and fans applauded it for starting conversations that most shows avoided entirely. Years later, Static Shock is remembered as a brave milestone in superhero animation, one that dared to say, sometimes the toughest battles aren't fought with fists, but with truth. Number 10. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, 1983. Few cartoons defined an era like He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. It was colorful, loud, and loaded with action. Every afternoon, kids everywhere shouted, "By the power of Grayskull," at the top of their lungs. But behind all that heroic fun, there was a storm brewing in living rooms across the country. Parents began to notice that He-Man was more than just a toy commercial. It was also packed with sword fights, intense battles, and strange, otherworldly creatures. Many loved the excitement, but others thought it was too much for young minds. Some parent groups argued it was too aggressive for kids, and that its fantasy setting might be sending the wrong message about strength and power. Ironically, the creators had tried to add moral lessons to every episode, ending with a calm message about friendship or honesty. Still, the dazzling fights and dramatic transformations often drowned those lessons out. Critics accused the show of promoting materialism because of its link to toy sales, while parents debated whether good, clean fun had turned into too much action. Despite all that noise, He-Man became a phenomenon. It launched spin-offs, reboots, and even movies. Parents may have been up in arms, but kids? They were too busy saving Eternia to care. Number 9. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, 1987. It was pizza, puns, and pure chaos. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles exploded onto TV screens with a mix of comedy and wild action that kids adored. But not everyone was cheering. In some countries, parents and censors were anything but amused. The show's high-energy fight scenes and colorful martial arts made it a hit, but also a target. In the United Kingdom, even the word ninja was considered too aggressive, leading to the bizarre rebranding of the show as Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. Scenes showing nunchucks were trimmed out, and broadcasters made sure kids saw less of the combat and more of the comedy. Parents' groups argued that the series encouraged imitation among children, with playgrounds becoming makeshift dojo battlegrounds. But for most kids, Ninja Turtles was just good fun, a celebration of teamwork, humor, and pizza-loving friendship. The censorship didn't slow the Turtles down. Their popularity only grew, and the controversy ended up making them even more famous. By the time new versions rolled out in later decades, the shell-shocked outrage had faded. Still, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles will forever be remembered as the show that made heroes out of pizza-loving reptiles and gave parents one more reason to worry about what was on TV. Number 8. Invincible, 2021. If there's one cartoon that reminded everyone that animation isn't just for kids, it's Invincible. The first episode lulled viewers in with bright visuals and a teenage hero learning the ropes. But by the end, Jaws were on the floor. This wasn't your usual Saturday morning adventure. It was a full-blown shockwave. Parents were stunned by how intense it was. The show didn't hide from consequences. It displayed the cost of heroism in vivid, dramatic ways. Many thought it went too far, especially since its animation style looked deceptively family-friendly. Discussions erupted online about how streaming platforms should label such content. But beneath the intensity, Invincible told a deeply emotional story about growing up, trust, and how role models aren't always what they seem. It wasn't chaos for chaos's sake. It was storytelling that hit hard. Fans praised its honesty and courage to challenge the shiny perfection of superhero tropes. Parents may have flinched, but audiences couldn't stop watching. Invincible became a global success, proving that sometimes the boldest stories come wrapped in colorful capes, and not every hero story is meant for the playground. Number 7. Batman. The Killing Joke. 2016. When fans heard that one of the most famous Batman graphic novels was being turned into an animated movie, excitement was sky high. Then the movie arrived, and so did the backlash. Batman. The Killing Joke wasn't just dark. It was disturbing in ways that few were ready for. Parents who assumed it was another standard superhero adventure quickly realized it wasn't meant for kids. The film dove deep into obsession, tragedy, and the psychological cost of crime. It pushed Batman and his world into places mainstream animation rarely dared to go. Critics were divided. Some hailed it as a bold, faithful adaptation that captured the source material's emotional weight. Others felt it crossed lines that animation shouldn't. Parents complained that it blurred the boundary between mature and inappropriate, leading to calls for stricter content labels. But controversy aside, The Killing Joke became a milestone in superhero storytelling. It reminded everyone that animation could tackle weighty themes usually reserved for live action. The uproar only amplified its legend, proving once again that the Dark Knight's world isn't always fit for daylight viewing. Number 6. The Tick, 1994. Imagine a superhero who's brave, loud, and a little too clueless for his own good. That's The Tick, a blue-suited parody that flipped the superhero genre on its head. It was funny, absurd, and downright ridiculous. Kids laughed, adults laughed, but some parents were left scratching their heads, wondering if it had gone too far. The Tick's humor was full of over-the-top antics, witty one-liners, and jokes that sometimes flew right over younger viewers' heads. Some adults thought the show's tongue-in-cheek tone might confuse kids who couldn't tell parody from reality. Others didn't appreciate its carefree attitude toward chaos. Despite the confusion, The Tick was hailed by critics as clever satire, a cartoon that made fun of hero cliches while secretly celebrating them. It had heart, style, and an unmistakable charm that made it unforgettable. Still, parental complaints rolled in about the show's irreverent humor and occasional slapstick intensity. In the end, The Tick survived every complaint with a smile and a spoon battle cry. It wasn't dangerous, it was just daring. And for anyone tired of perfect heroes, this oddball blue crusader was the laugh the world didn't know it needed. Number 5. Ren and Stimpy, Adult Party Cartoon, 2003. For many viewers, Ren and Stimpy was already the wildest cartoon of the 90s. But when its creator returned in the early 2000s with Adult Party Cartoon, parents everywhere went from confused to downright alarmed. The reboot promised more freedom, and it delivered just not the kind most families were ready for. The series brought back the hyper-exaggerated animation, the surreal humor, and the unpredictable antics. But this time, it aimed squarely at older audiences. The jokes were sharper, the expressions more extreme, and the tone far stranger than before. Longtime fans who remembered the original Nickelodeon version were stunned to see their childhood favorites suddenly acting like characters in a late-night experiment. Parents who didn't realize it was intended for grown-ups were quick to protest. Networks scrambled to clarify its rating, while family groups labeled it too shocking for nostalgia. But that didn't stop it from gaining a curious following. Some viewers called it bold and boundary-breaking, Others simply called it bizarre. In the end, Ren and Stimpy, adult party cartoon, burned bright and fast. It was pulled from television after a handful of episodes, but not before reminding everyone that animation, even when born from childhood memories, can still cause a national stir. Number 4. Spawn, the animated series, 1997. Before superhero cartoons were edgy, Spawn took the concept of dark and ran with it. Airing on HBO in the late 90s, it followed Al Simmons, a man betrayed and reborn with supernatural powers. But instead of Saturday morning brightness, viewers got moody lighting, noir storytelling, and heavy moral questions. For parents used to, bright tights and cheerful music, this was a shock. The show's tone was grim, its themes serious, and its world full of pain and revenge. HBO advertised it as animation for adults. But that didn't stop some viewers from stumbling onto it, expecting another costumed hero show. Letters poured in complaining that it was too intense for young audiences. Despite the outrage, Spawn became a milestone in animated storytelling. It proved that superheroes could exist in the shadows, that animation could be sophisticated, and that not every story had to end with a smile. Critics praised its artistry and emotional depth. Parents just wanted it off the screen. Ironically, all that controversy only helped cement Spawn's legacy. It went on to win awards and inspire later adult-oriented superhero projects. In a way, it walked so that modern dark hero shows could run. Number 3. The Powerpuff Girls, 1998. They were made of sugar, spice, and everything nice, but also a dash of pure chaos. The Powerpuff Girls seemed harmless enough. 3 kindergarten superheroes fighting crime between nap times. But as the show's popularity exploded, some parents began to take a closer look, and not everyone liked what they saw. Complaints poured in about its fast-paced slapstick, its surprisingly sharp humor, and its frequent explosions of comic violence. Some thought the show glorified fighting instead of solving problems peacefully. Others didn't appreciate how it balanced its sweet visuals with occasional sarcasm or humor aimed slightly above the heads of children. What many missed, though, was that the Powerpuff Girls was a clever satire, a loving parody of both superhero tropes and girl stereotypes. It wasn't teaching kids to fight. It was showing that girls could be strong, smart, and funny all at once. Still, that didn't stop family groups from calling for toned-down episodes or time slot changes. The debate only added to the show's fame, and today it's remembered not as a controversy, but as a classic. Parents may have been nervous, but kids knew one thing for sure. Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup were unstoppable. Number 2. Teen Titans Go, 2013. You'd think a bright, goofy reboot of the beloved Teen Titans series would be safe family fun. But when Teen Titans Go hit screens, it sparked one of the biggest cartoon culture wars of the decade. Parents criticized it for being too silly, saying it replaced meaningful storylines with non-stop jokes. Kids, on the other hand, loved it precisely for that reason. The humor was self-aware, loud, and sometimes poked fun at the superhero genre itself. The show knew exactly what it was doing and didn't care who rolled their eyes. But as the series grew, so did the outrage. Some parents accused it of teaching bad habits through its mischievous humor. Others thought it made the once serious heroes look irresponsible. Internet debates flared between fans of the original and defenders of the new tone. Through it all, Teen Titans Go thrived. Ratings stayed high, and even its critics couldn't deny its energy. The creators leaned into the backlash with jokes about the complaints themselves, turning criticism into comedy gold. In the end, the show proved that being unapologetically fun can sometimes be the most rebellious move of all. Number 1. X-Men, the animated series, 1992. It had one of the greatest opening themes in cartoon history and one of the biggest public controversies to match. X-Men, the animated series, revolutionized superhero TV in the early 90s with its serialized storytelling and emotional depth. But its realism came at a cost: parental outrage. This wasn't a world of cheerful heroes. The series tackled heavy themes like discrimination, loss, and the fear of being different. Its villains weren't just bad guys. They were symbols of real-world prejudice and power struggles. Parents expecting a simple hero show were taken aback by how dark it could get, both visually and emotionally. Some even claimed it was too intense for children, with its dramatic tone and high-stakes conflicts. Yet that same seriousness was what made it unforgettable. It treated young viewers like adults, offering moral complexity instead of easy answers. The controversy only fueled its legacy. X-Men, the animated series, became a cultural touchstone, paving the way for shows like Justice League and Batman Beyond. Parents may have worried, but fans still hum that theme song today, proof that some cartoons grow up right alongside their audience. So there you have it, 15 superhero cartoons that sent parents running for the remote while kids sat glued to the screen. From fearless satire to emotional storytelling, these shows didn't just break rules, they rewrote them. Which one do you remember causing the biggest stir in your house? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more animated nostalgia done right. After all, if cartoons taught us anything, it's that heroes come in all shapes, shades, and storylines.